Mariah, Janos, and Evan Lazar here talking about the young defensive players of the Patriots organization. This past weekend against the Chargers, I mean, on all sides of the ball, all facets of the game, the Patriots came out firing. But specifically, these young defensive players, we're seeing their roles grow each week. And then this weekend, it was just incredible seeing what everyone was able to do and what they were able to produce. Why do you think it's all coming together now for these young guys? Is it this point in the season? Was it just the Chargers? What's going on here?
Well, I think there's a couple of things at play. The first thing is that the Patriots are a game plan oriented team, and we hear that every single week. We talk about it every single week. So with the young players, once you get into the season specifically, it's all about the game plan, right? It's all about the next opponent, what we're doing against that offense, what we're doing against that defense. So really the intricacies of the scheme, the playbook, all that kind of stuff, that falls by the wayside to just really focus on the install that week of what the game plan is exactly going to be. And if you're a rookie, especially early on in the season, then your role in that game plan might be very, very small. Let's use Anthony Jennings, for example. Earlier on in the season, he was only in the goal line package. That was it. He only played in goal line. So everything else was not, he wasn't really involved in, but when they got inside the goal line or got inside the 5, then that's when they brought him out. So he was focused on learning goal line. Then the next week, maybe they say, okay, this week we could use you in this role. So your role expands a little bit more. Then you learn that part of the game plan. You learn that role in the defense. And then you keep on kind of building week after week, game plan after game plan, the building blocks of you learning the entire birth of the scheme. So that's why it takes so long, is I think that the Patriots, more than maybe any other team, get really caught up in the minutia of game planning and what they're going to do that week against that specific opponent, that maybe they don't have the time necessarily to go ahead and teach the entire scheme to expand players' roles like rookies, like younger players, where they're not coming in with prior knowledge of the scheme like a veteran would.
Yeah, it certainly seemed like a learn as you go type of situation, especially in a season like this where there's no preseason games. You're kind of learning on the fly here. That kind of seems to be the case why these guys are kind of going week by week by week, taking on a little bit more as they go. Patriots Press Pass is brought to you by Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping using the code PressPass20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com using the code PressPass20. Take the leap and join the Manscaped movement today. Now, we talked about Kyle Duggar last week. You wrote about him last week, so if you guys want to check that out, go to clnsmedia.com. There's a bunch of great stuff there. We love Kyle Duggar and love seeing him grow in his rookie season. Now, I want to talk about another young guy, Josh Uche. 3 quarterback hits this past weekend on Justin Herbert. As we mentioned just before, they came out firing on all cylinders in every aspect of the game. All of the young defensive players kind of stepped up. But what did you see out of Josh Uche? We heard Bill Belichick kind of singing his praises a little bit, as much as Bill Belichick really does. So what are you thinking about Josh Uche at this point in the season?
Well, similarly to my first answer about, kind of why it took so long, is that the Patriots were struggling mightily on first and second down earlier on in the season. We talked a lot about early down defense, and now that the early down defense is improving, they're able to get into more obvious pass rushing type of situations. So we're seeing Josh Uche be able to pin his ears back and get after the quarterback. So that's sort of how everything comes together for a defense. If you're bad on first and second down, well, you're not getting into third and longs, and you're not getting those opportunities to put your pass rushers out there and let them get after the QB. So I think that's a lot of the reason why we're seeing this pass rush improve so much. I don't necessarily think it is, a matter of they didn't have the talent before and now these guys are coming of age or anything like that. I think all of these guys, Winovich, Butler, Uche, Wise, I think they were always pretty good pass rushers, but they just didn't really have the opportunities to get out there and rush the passer. So we're seeing that kind of turn around, which is nice. And then with Uche, just a really explosive player, right? We haven't seen, Winovich has pretty good get off, pretty good first step explosiveness off the line too. But I think Uche we haven't seen a guy like Uche in a while around here that can get off and fly off the ball like he does. And that's a really good thing to see if you're a Patriot fan. You know, they got that one-on-one against the left tackle, Storm Norton, who had a terrible game for the Chargers on Sunday, and he just blew right past the guy. You know, it just was really no contest. There was one play, one of the pressures that he was literally unblocked. You know, the left guard literally did not block him. So I'm not going to give him too much credit for that one. But the other ones were, you know, really productive plays, really productive rushes, with him using that explosiveness. And because he's a little bit of a smaller, undersized edge rusher, he has that ability to really get underneath offensive linemen. You know, these offensive linemen are 6'5", 6'6", some of them, you know, they're 320 pounds. It's hard for them to be flexible and get that low. So if Uche can really dip and turn the corner, then it's difficult a lot of the time for them to get their hands on him because he is so low to the ground. So he uses his size to his advantage in that way. Winovich does the same thing too, really, on the other side. And you just have two guys in Chase and Uche who are just really fast and explosive pass rushers off the ball, and they can do different things with stunt schemes with them and stuff like that too. So it's a really fun sort of group to watch when they finally get into second and long, third and long, and they can just pin their ears back and get after the QB. There's a lot of fun things that Bill Belichick is thinking up in the lab.
Yeah, it certainly has been exciting to watch. So hopefully they can continue trending in that upwards direction. For all of our Patriots coverage, head to clnsmedia.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel over at Patriots Press Pass.